Welcome to Spicy Toast Gaming and our updated Gwen guide for Path of Champions. If you enjoy the video, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. First, we're going to start off with a brief overview of the champion, discussing their general playstyle so you have a better understanding of the champion and if you want to invest your time and resources into them. First up, we have Hallowed, the main keyword that Gwen is built around. As your Hallowed units die, they give off a stacking buff that triggers when you attack. Next up, we have Ephemerals. Very similar to Misfortune, Gwen is able to automatically summon ephemeral units every round, so you always have someone to block or attack. Up next, we have Built-in Draw. In her starting deck, Gwen has some powerful draw cards, so you never need to worry about running out of things to play. Next up, we have Massive Sustain. Gwen has the strongest and most consistent sustain in the entire game. Last up, we have Backup Win Condition. While Gwen is your primary win condition in most situations, you also have a strong backup win condition that is in your deck by default. Alright, that is it for the overview. Let's hop in game to better explain some of the points we touched on here. In game now, as you see, we have Gwen at level 30 with 3 stars. Gwen is a 4-cost champion with Quick Attack and Hallowed. Now Hallowed, as you can see, after I die for the rest of the game when allies attack, Hallow your first attacker, giving it 1 power that round. So for Gwen, most of your units are going to have this keyword, and so you're wanting them actually to die because as they're dying, you're getting that stacking buff that's going to help you when you attack. Now for Gwen, 3 power, 4 health, and then attack. When another ally gains power from Hallowed, so do I. So as you can see here, Hallowed normally just buffs your first attacker, so the first one on the left. So while normally you're only having 1 unit gain buffed, Gwen is also getting that buff as well, so you'll be able to have more units benefiting from that. Also, as part of her attacking effect, she has Drain 2 from the enemy nexus. So Drain, heal your nexus for the amount of damage dealt, so you're dealing 2 damage to the enemy nexus, and you're healing your own nexus as well. Then her level up condition is I've dealt 10 damage, so that works from her attack, but also counts from the Drain attack as well. Now, once she is leveled up, she goes to a 4-5, and now attack, she still has that same effect of one another ally gains power from Hallowed, so do I, but now drain 1 from the enemy nexus 1 time for every 2 power I have. So in her non-leveled up form, it's only going to drain a maximum of 2. When she's leveled up, now the more power she has, the more she's going to drain. And that Hallowed buff is also increasing her power. So essentially when you attack with her, the higher that buff is, the higher her power is, the more she's also draining from the enemy nexus, and this is why she's able to have the best, most consistent sustain in the entire game, because normally she's able to completely heal you up to full when she attacks. Now for her champion spell, we have Thread the Needle, so 3 cost fast, kill an ally to deal damage equal to its power to an enemy. So you won't be utilizing this too much, but it can be nice as a little bit of extra removal. And here we see Snip Snip. This is just the skill that she triggers when she attacks. For her star powers, we have Round Start summon a Ghastly Band. Now the 3-star version summons every single round. For the 1-star version, it's just when you have the attack token. And that Ghastly Band, it's a 1-cost 2/1 ephemeral with Hallowed. So every time this ephemeral unit dies, so every single round, they're increasing that Hallowed buff, which is just helping you automatically scale up throughout the entire game. For your 2-star, very good. Power really synergizes very well with your entire kit, so +1 starting mana. When your leftmost attacker gains power from Hallowed, so does the attacker on its right. So now your first 2 attackers are getting that Hallowed buff instead of just the first one, and this has an interesting interaction with Gwen. So remember with Gwen, when another ally gains power from Hallowed, so do I. Now, you might naturally think that this is going to happen each time a unit benefits from Hallowed, and so with your star powers, you might think, oh, we'll have 2 other units attack first, and then maybe put Gwen in the 3rd slot, and then she's going to get benefits from both of those. That's not the way it works. She only gets benefit from the first unit that's benefiting from the buff. So when you're attacking, you normally want to have 1 unit first, so on the leftmost side, then you want to put Gwen second, and what that's going to do is she's going to benefit from the first unit getting Hallowed, and then she is also going to benefit from being in that 2nd slot from the 2nd star power. She's going to benefit from Hallowed as well. So essentially, she's having this buff go off twice, massively boosting her damage, which means she is normally leveling up in the very first round you're playing with her. Since she's at that 4 cost, you're normally going to have a couple rounds go by, having units die, having these ghastly bands die, buffing up your hallowed buff. So by the time you play and attack with her, it's large enough that she is able to attack, immediately level up, and if you're using something like Crown Guard, she could then rally, normally attack again, and end the game. I know this may sound somewhat complicated, but just watch any Gwen gameplay. I know I have several videos, and I'm sure there's other YouTubers that also have content up if you want to see this in action. But the general takeaways with these powers is you just normally want to have one unit attacking first, so the one on the very far left, and then you want to have Gwen in that second slot. Because of the way she works as well as their star powers, she's going to get this stacking buff twice, and will be able to do a massive amount of damage because of it. Taking a look at the starting deck now. So first, for one of your 1 cost, we have Boisterous Host. So 1 cost, 2/1, Hallowed with Challenger. Challenger being very strong because you can attack with this unit with that Hallowed buff, so their attack is going to be higher than just this 2. And you can use them to get rid of an enemy target, and you're totally fine if they die because they have Hallowed, and so you're benefiting from them dying. We have Sapling Toss here with Hand Sensor. 1 cost burst, summon a sapling next round. So another ephemeral unit with Challenger. Again, great for taking out enemy targets. These together give you some pretty strong removal outside of having to use spells. Here we have a Glimpse Beyond, so 2 cost fast, kill an ally to draw 2. This is your strong built-in draw. Also, you are going to get a mana potion here, so this is actually going to be 1 cost. For some reason, the level up screen is bad at showing more than 1 upgrade. So you not only get the Poro Snacks for summoning a 1 cost unit, which will help mitigate the fact you have to kill one of your allies, but this is also only going to cost 1. Now, the main way you want to use this is, yes, if you're desperate, you can kill one of your own units, especially the fact that you're making ephemeral units every round, so you can use them as essentially fodder for this spell. But the main way you want to use this is targeting your own unit when an enemy is playing a spell to kill them anyways. So let's say you're going up against Ezreal. Ezreal's going to Mystic Shot one of your units, killing them anyways. So since they're already going to die, you use this to just benefit from their death, killing them yourself since they're already going to die. That's the main and generally best way to use a Glimpse Beyond. Next up, we have the Phantom Butler. So 2 cost, 5/1 with that pickaxe. So already massive amounts of power right here. And it has Fearsome and Hallowed. Next up, we have Conductor of the Mists. This also is going to get a pickaxe. So this is going to be a 3 cost 6/2. Again, it's bad at showing you multiple upgrades. And it also has that Overwhelm. So this is a great card to use with your Hallowed buff, since with that Overwhelm, they're going to be able to punch through whatever blocker they put in front of you and still damage the Nexus. Again, has that Hallowed keyword, and Last Breath create a Ghastly Band in hand. So the unit you're always summoning, this one you will have to play because it's making a copy in hand. But it's just a 1 cost, so you can play this if you need another blocker, attacker, or just if you need to get another kill counter for your Hallowed buff. Next up, we have the Undying with the Crystal Carrier. So 3 cost, 2/2, and it can't block, but Last Breath, revive me next round start and grant me 1/1 for each time I've died. So normally you don't really need to focus on this card, and quite often I cut it, but it can be fun to play around if you want to focus on this card more, because you can keep killing it yourself. You have multiple ways to kill your own units, and it's just going to keep coming back stronger and stronger. And then it has that Crystal Carrier, so if it doesn't end up dying, it's giving you an extra mana gem next round. Up next, we have the Chronicler of Ruin with that Phage, so it's a 5/5, 4 cost, kill an ally, then revive it. Normally, you want to use this on one of your Hallowed units to just get an extra stack of your Hallowed buff. We have Gwen at the 4 cost, and then we have Atrocity, and this has the double time watch, so round end reduce my cost by 1. This is your backup win condition. So 7 cost and fast, normally this is going to be reduced down though. Kill an ally to deal damage equal to its power to anything. So what you're able to do is, if it's later in the game, you haven't been able to draw Gwen, or maybe your Gwen has died, you can attack, and then when your units have that massive buff because of the Hallowed, you can play Atrocity to kill those units that have that massive buff and deal damage straight to the enemy Nexus. And that will normally be able to finish off the game and can be quite helpful for you. Once you start playing Gwen, you're really going to learn to fall in love with this card because it will really help you out of a lot of sticky situations and really help you close out the game. So that's it for her starting deck. I feel like she has one of the best made decks in the entire game. Gwen has pretty much everything. The only thing you really are somewhat missing is removal, but if you need to, you have removal from Atrocity if you need to use it on a target, but you also have multiple Challenger units that are going to be able to take out enemy threats. So even though you don't have a lot of removal from spells, it normally isn't really an issue. You still have ways to deal with enemy targets. but in general, she is one of the best made decks and just one of the best kits in the entire game. All right, let's go take a look at relics now. So the number one best relic for Gwen, and you're even guaranteed to get this, is the Crown Guard Inheritance when I level up Rally. Gwen can consistently level up on her very first attack. She can then rally because of Crown Guard Inheritance, attack again, and end the game. And being able to attack twice in the same round is very powerful, because normally your Hallowed buff, it activates when you attack, and then it goes away at the end of the round. But if you attack again, you can then essentially double the amount of buffs you're getting from Hallowed, because they're going to stack on top of each other, giving you just an absolutely massive amount of power, and end the game like 9 times out of 10, if not more. So for your first rare relic, definitely use Crown Guard Inheritance. It's really the best thing you can get. After that, I would get Troll King's Crown. Allies have Overwhelm, really helping you make use of that massive power you're getting from Hallowed to be able to punch through and end the game by hitting the Nexus, even if you end up getting blocked. And then Luden's Tempest, all of your spells and skills deal 1 extra damage. So Gwen, the way her attack works is when she attacks, drain 1 from the enemy Nexus 1 time for every 2 power I have. So since this is in increments of 1, Luden's Tempest, even though it's just increasing the damage of spells and skills by 1 damage, since it's going off multiple times, and each one of those times it says it's only draining 1, you're actually doubling the amount of damage you're doing. So now it's draining 2 from the enemy Nexus multiple times every 2 power that Gwen has. So Luden's is essentially just doubling your damage for the skill when you attack, which can end up being a massive amount of damage. And remember, since that damage is drain, you're also healing. So it's essentially doubling not only your damage, but also your healing from Gwen's skill, which can be quite substantial. Now, not enough for me to suggest using this for one of your first 2 relics, in my opinion, but it is a great choice. If for some reason you don't have like Troll King's Crown, you could throw that in and it would still work out quite well. Now, Crown Guard Inheritance, if you complete the Darius 2-star personalized campaign, you are guaranteed to get this to drop, so you don't even need to worry about having RNG. If you already have Darius, go ahead and try to get this. If you don't have Darius, you might want to consider getting the champion and getting them strong enough just to complete their personalized adventure to get you this relic, as it's very useful for many champions. But let's take a look at some other relics you might want to use. So for your first common relic, I would normally use Banshee's Veil. Anytime you have a common relic slot, Gwen is your primary win condition. She's normally closing out the game in your very first attack with her, so you don't really need anything else. You don't need the extra spell mana, you don't need extra stats. You just need her to be safe. And so anytime you have a common relic slot, I would always put in Banshee's Veil. And if you don't have Banshee's Veil slotted, when you're playing in-game, try to prioritize getting Banshee's Veil through the champion item chests, because if something happens to Gwen, your chances of winning go down a fair amount, and you're normally then going to need to rely on your backup win condition, which, if you don't get lucky enough to draw, could cost you the game. Spell Shield, really important for Gwen. I highly recommend using it. For some more rare relics, you might want to use Blade Rack. Some people prefer that over Troll King's Crown. Now, you do already have a couple units with Challenger, so it's not quite as good, but it is still rather helpful. Hymn of Valor, while it is more of a cheesy build, you could use this for Gwen and then wait until she attacks, get a massive amount of stats from Hallowed, and then double her stats from the redoubled Valor. Again, normally that's more overkill since you can end the game without it, but if you want to just have fun and have a Gwen with a ridiculous amount of stats permanently, Hymn of Valor is a fun way to do that. There is also Gale Force. Some people like to use this on Gwen since, again, you're being able to attack twice. I feel like it's just worse in every situation for Gwen, because with Crown Guard Inheritance, you can get your entire board to attack twice instead of just Gwen attacking twice. And then with Gwen, you're always ending the game with Crown Guard Inheritance in the first round you play her, so you don't need that double attack to happen more than one time. Gale Force can go off every single round. You don't need it to. You just need Crown Guard Inheritance to activate once, and you're going to end the game. So some people like it. I think for Gwen, it's just a worse option in my opinion, but you can play around with it, make up your own decision. And that's it for the relics I wanted to highlight. Let's go take a look now at powers and support champions you might want to look for in-game. Alright, taking a look at powers now. First up, we have Afterlife Forbidden. When an ally dies for the first time, summon a Haunted Tomb. You are going to have allies dying very regularly, so having a free option to help fill out your board, really nice, especially since that first unit that dies or the unit that gets brought back with the Haunted Tomb is most likely going to have that hallowed buff, so it's another unit that will help increase your stacking buff, which can be quite nice. Next up, we have Rush Them Down. When you summon an ally, give it 1/1 this round. While this can be in general nice for all of your units, since you're summoning a lot of ephemeral units that are only going to last one round, it's essentially making all your ephemeral units have a permanent 1/1, which can be quite helpful. Enfeebling Strike, when you damage an enemy, reduce its power by the damage dealt. Pretty much the best defensive power in the game, especially when you have ephemerals and quick attack. So ephemerals, you're fine with blocking or attacking with them, you don't care if they die. And then if anyone is damaged by them, they're getting permanently reduced down by taking that damage. So that can really help you out. And then quick attack, which Gwen has, you're able to hit the unit first, and if you're not able to kill them, you're at least reducing down their power so far that normally they won't be able to kill you back, which really can help you out. Next up, we have Domination Round Start Rally. Since your Hallowed buff is kicking in every time you attack, you want to be able to attack every round to be able to benefit from that. Best defense, allies have Grow My Health to match my power. Really great defensive ability for Gwen. Since again with that Hallowed buff, it's buffing up your attack to ridiculous amounts. This is then going to buff up your unit's health to ridiculous amounts, making them very strong and tanky. While you're fine with most of your units dying because of that Hallowed buff, you want them to die to increase that buff for the future. You do still normally want a couple units that are able to block and defend from enemy attacks. Then we have Crush, allies have Overwhelm. Again, you're wanting to use all those massive stats you're getting to be able to end the game and not just get blocked out and lose any of that extra damage. Next up here we have Can't Stop, Won't Stop. Allied buffs except Barrier are permanent. So now your attacking Hallowed buff is not going to time out by the end of the round. It's just going to keep increasing every single round, and that can be quite ridiculous for you. Then we have Spellslinger and Sorcery, reducing down your spell's cost and refilling your spell mana every round. While you don't have that many spells, it is nice having the freedom to play those spells whenever you need it, because most of your spells are very situational, and so when that situation arises, you really want to be sure you can capitalize on it. So while these have a little less value than in many other decks, they're still a great selection to pick up if you see them. Alright, on to support champions. As always, this isn't an exhaustive list of all the support champions you might want to consider, but just some attributes you might want to look for when you're choosing a support champion. So first up, we have benefits from allied deaths. So this is going to mainly relate to other Shadow Isles decks, as a lot of them benefit from their own units dying, and you're going to be having a lot of your own units die because of both ephemeral, and then just a lot of them have very weak health pools, and you want them to die to get that Hallowed buff. So any other support champion that also benefits from that would pair quite nicely. And then we have extra attacks. So this could be Rally, Free Attack, Scout. Any champion that is able to bring any of these to the table will be very nice, since your Hallowed buff only activates when you attack. Getting those extra attacks will be quite powerful for you. So for some specific champions, first up we have Callista. Being able to benefit from your own units dying, that pairs quite nicely together. Also, Callista is a fairly cheap champion, so normally you can get her out before you play Gwen. And then for extra attacks and also benefits from allied deaths, we have Lucian. Probably the best support champion for you, as he's very cheap. You can play him round one, and he's just going to benefit from absolutely everything that you're already trying to do with Gwen. And then once he levels up, he's able to rally, which can just really help you close out those games as soon as possible. Alright, that's it for support champions and the Gwen deck. I hope this was able to help you out. If it did, definitely like and subscribe. We're really trying to push for 10K subscribers by the end of the year. We still have a very long way to go, so any help you can give, I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day.